y'all. Welcome to episode 170, where we're going to talk about pivoting, something we all have to do in our business. Hey, guys, girls, Libby, we're live. I'm recording. Put the sandwich down.
Oh,
Samantha, what are you doing over there?
it was on my schedule to list clothing right now.
Oh, sorry, time to pivot. We're recording.
All right.
So,
I don't know how much more I can pivot. I feel like I'm spinning, not pivoting.
right. When the pivot turns to the spins, we really need to talk.
Mm-hmm.
We decided we needed to talk about pivoting in your business because we've all had big pivots come up in the last 10 days. So we'd like to keep things, as you know, very real, very current, very true to who we are. And why not talk about that?
I'm going to put something under the door. Hold on one sec.
Okay. And y'all, we're pivoting right now. This is it right here.
This is my list clothing time.
This is a true pivot of an episode where I am now at Libby's and we're recording in the same house. So there's issues that we have to pivot and fix. So you're seeing it live right now. And Samantha's just ignoring, and she's going to continue to list because we cut into her listing schedule.
Tell me when you're ready.
So, these are the things that happen. And this is all the different ways that we pivot. So here we are. We're pivoting. So let's talk about pivoting. Let's talk about things we maybe even have set up in our own businesses that help us when we need to pivot. Let's discuss all these real life issues and the way we get through them, because there's no way that you're not going to have to pivot. It's just always going to happen.
Yeah. And I mean, I think even more so, like you pivot in business, but when you're running an e-commerce business and selling online and dealing with the latest technology, I think we might even pivot more than the regular entrepreneur business owner. Like it is a constant. It is. And I always say, even when we're coaching somebody, like if that is something you're not able to do or not willing to do or learn to do, and you like doing routine things, this is not a business for you. It absolutely is not, because you will end it in frustration, in tears. And there are a lot of people that pivot really well.
Yeah.
But even the people that pivot very well can find it very challenging at times.
I learned about some friends that I have that own other businesses, small businesses, who the pandemic was a real eye-opener to me as to just how strong they were at pivoting, because they were able to pivot their businesses during all those crazy changes and not only keep their doors open, but succeed. And it just gives you this whole nother, like, wow, okay, that's somebody who knows how to pivot and do what's best to keep your business open. So.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, think about all the distilleries and things like that turned into making hand sanitizer and figured that out real quick.
Yeah,
that was pretty cool. Yeah,
definitely.
I know there were a lot around me that did that.
And I even just think of like small scenarios, like a few months ago, eBay, their shipping labels, you can print shipping labels from eBay. We preach all the time for people to have a backup plan in case something goes out. What if your power goes out? What if your printer stops working? What if eBay makes it so you can't print labels from them? Like, make sure that you have a backup plan. We had other websites that we could use, and we just went and used those. And just make sure that you have, it doesn't have to be a detailed plan. It doesn't have to have a crazy amount of thought or time put into it, just something so that when something happens, you have other ideas and can think of ways to pivot to adapt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm going to say, Molly, you missed this because you were in transit to my home at the time. But one of the things that came up in our motivation in minutes in the morning was somebody was frustrated. They couldn't do their job because the top floor of their house, there was something that happened and they weren't able to. And I said, you know what? I said, Molly was through this last week and you never would have known. She threw her back out. And she was unable to do her normal listing sourcing. But what you did was so empowering. And I did use you as an example. And I'm doing it again. Sorry, but I'm throwing it out there. But you were like, all right, well, I can't do that, but I'm not going to focus on what I can't do and what's not working. Here's what I can do. And you just dove all into doing like creating and doing things on social media and different things that were going to grow the business rather than focusing on, oh, this is so frustrating, I can't do that. And you just pivoted just like that. And it was such an inspiration.
Oh,
So thank you.
thanks.
Yeah. So I used you as an example in our motivation in minutes for somebody that was also, very frustrated.
Yeah.
Because there are ways you can go. You can be really frustrated, or you can
be open to adapting.
Be open to adapting. Mm-hmm. And maybe it's only a season, right? A season is a word we learned from Christy Wright. Is, when something is happening in your life, sometimes it's better to look at it as a season, right? Like if it's temporary, like your back went out. That was a short little season where you weren't able to do your normal the things you would normally do over the course of a day. It was a season. It's not going to last forever. If you're going through something hard that is transitory, look at it as a season. When I was moving, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to get through this, but I was looking at it like it was never going to end. No, it was just a season of really hard work that was coming to an end. It was just a season.
And someday, hopefully, you look back and realize how silly that was. I complained about my front porch, losing access to my front porch. Complained about that for years, it seemed like, millennia. My husband built me a box in my alley, and it works fine. It works just fine. It does not hinder my business. People love it. It works. Mm-hmm. And it's what I have to use from now on. That's all there is to it.
Yeah.
But I didn't throw my hands up in the air and say, I will never sell on Facebook locally again. That's not going to work.
There goes that business model.
Right. It's like 40% of my business. I can't just stop it.
And there you go. There's our clickbait episode. I will not sell locally. No, we're not going to do that, folks. We are not going to do that. But I mean, we'd have so many clickbaitable things, right?
Sure.
I quit eBay. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I always say this as a backup, it doesn't mean that you don't feel those initial emotions. Those emotions are real. I mean, feel them. We're human. So we're going to feel those moments of frustration, but it is your overall mindset and how you choose to handle that moment that is going to set you in whatever level your business is going to wind up, or you yourself, your whole life is going to wind up. You can choose to be, I always, as you've heard me reference, the Eeyores of life, or you can choose to be the ray of sunshine and or the middle person who gets a little of both. But it's all about your mindset. How are you going to handle it? What are you going to do with that information that you were given? It's a old friend of mine used to say it's all about the type of bow that you put on the gift, right? Mm-hmm. How are you going to wrap it when you get it? Are you going to wrap it falling apart like it got soaked in the toilet? Or are you going to wrap it with a big, beautiful bow and say, here, this is what I'm going to do with this, right?
Now, what's in that package that fell in the toilet?
Oh, right. Well, I don't know.
You really just not like, I was like, oh, it got stuck in a rainstorm. No, not
it's on the toilet. So let's hope it's not edible, right?
You'll never look at a wet package the same again. It fell in a toilet.
So strange.
Yeah, who knows? All right, so let's talk about pivoting that just happened to us. So we've talked about different types. There's obviously different types of pivoting. There's little pivots like we just had to do in recording this episode. We had something we had to get done for tomorrow's schedule, and we thought it would be a quick 5-minute thing, and we'd start recording in our normal time. But it did not take 5 minutes. The platform had some things we weren't expecting, and it took us more like 30 minutes. And so now we had to pivot our schedules and record 30 minutes later, which is why Samantha was listing when we started recording, because we're now into her listing time on her schedule.
Right. And I didn't have a chance to eat my lunch. So I was still eating my lunch.
Yes. Then we have the bigger pivots that might say, like, I had
wait. Let's shout out Pam Henry here for being an absolute saint, savior, and a woman of patience for dealing with us for those 30 minutes. Thank you, Pam.
Sometimes in pivoting, you have to lean on those around you and those in your community. And normally we have each other to lean on. But today we need to lean on somebody in our community as well. So thank you, Pam, for picking up the slack for us and helping us out with this. It's wonderful.
Because at this very moment, all three of us are pivoting at the same time. And that doesn't happen. This is the first time it's happened where the three of us have something in our lives that's making us pivot. So I had this grand plan this week. I had all this stuff set up. I was going to do XYZ. We were going to run a ListPalooza. We had all kinds of things set up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I got a text on Saturday morning saying, when are you going to visit me, from a friend in need? And that turned into the three of us maybe taking a trip, which turned into, practicality wise, the two of us taking a last minute trip to Boston to see our friend Diane.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty big pivot, y'all. That's a pretty big pivot. That's a whole week of your schedule of work for two businesses, both our reselling business and consignment chats, that we had to pivot.
And how lucky are that we get to pivot? Like, let's just throw that out there. Like,
right?
The fact that this is even possible in our lives is such a blessing. So yes, we have the ability, we have the need to pivot, but we also have the ability to pivot, unlike, other careers or jobs. We can really turn on a dime. Yeah.
Big shout out to the reselling job out there. Woo, woo, woo.
Oh my gosh, you guys, I was in one of my minimalist groups earlier, and somebody was on there and they're like, I was looking at Poshmark and trying to sell stuff, but I'm not sure how it works, and this and that and that. And all the comments were, just donate it. Reselling's hard. Just donate it. Selling your own things are so hard. And we don't normally see where people are acknowledging that this business can be hard and it has challenges. And so I was just soaking it all in. I'm like, you're right. This is hard and we do a good job. Like, P.S. Find somebody that does consignment. They'll sell it for you.
Yes. You need to throw that in the post. Just find somebody that does consignment. We got your back.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. We know what we're doing. So in our pivoting, we were putting some things on Samantha, and then Samantha had a family thing come up for tomorrow, and now she's got to pivot too.
And you were going to do stuff on the bus, and then that didn't end up panning out. So you had to pivot what you were pivoting already. So we are, when Libby says sometimes it just feels like we're spinning, this week is a little spinny, but it's okay. We got this.
Yeah, I had this whole grand idea, y'all. I've never taken a bus, but I had this whole grand idea that I was going to get to Libby's via bus, and then we're driving to our friend Diane's to help her with her reselling business. And I was like, you know what? I am going to be like sequestered in one area on a bus. They've got free Wi-Fi. They've got outlets to plug in your stuff. This is going to be great. I'm going to just sit there and work away all day, and I'm going to get so much done on Monday because nobody will be able to bother me. I won't be distracted. Okay, no. The bus is nothing at all like what I thought from the pictures and the information on the website. Let's just say buses are not for me. And they're definitely.
I think it was false advertising, honestly. It really was.
Yeah. There was no Wi-Fi. There were no outlets to charge anything. So all this stuff that I had so neatly packed, that I was so excited to get all this stuff done, all this social media created for the week. So Samantha would have everything at her fingertips while we were helping our friend Diane. No, none of it happened. And by the time I got here last night to Libby's, I was so done? Like fried?
Done.
Like
I think you used the term, I'm going to weep in your arms when I get off the bus.
Yes.
Now, folks, if you didn't say, this is a 15-hour bus ride. Like, this was not for the faint of heart. This was not a short little trip that she's being wimpy about. This was 15 hours.
It was one for the books. It was something that will never happen again, but I've got stories to tell, y'all. I've got stories to tell. So, some not suitable for recorded YouTube videos if we want to be monetized. Not suitable. But lots of colorful stories to tell. Anyway, I got through that, and now I had to pivot today and totally change my schedule. And a lot of what we do today is a very set schedule on Tuesdays for us, because we record on Tuesdays. So I had to pivot. You what?
including listing close.
Including listing close.
Yeah, your word of intention today was listing.
List.
We did our motivation, or was list in our, and I did say to you this morning, how are you going to fit that in today?
I'm going to put the blocks in after we're done with all of our stuff. I'll just scoot these blocks back. It's fine.
You'll be riding such a high from all this community and fun that you'll just be getting through that listing. No problem.
Yeah. So I think one of the biggest things for pivoting we mentioned, and I'm going to mention it again because yesterday was probably, it was rough mentally and physically yesterday to be where I was and what I was doing, but I did not let it win. Like I absolutely did not let it win. I tried to figure out, okay, so I can't use my devices that I plan to do everything. There's no space for me to write anything. So I just, and I didn't want to use my phone much because I didn't want my battery to die because I am taking a bus with 2 transfers, 1 hour and a half layover on a blacktop place in New York City. I didn't want to not be able to access my phone when I needed it. So there was no Molly's going to scroll social media. Molly's going to text her friends. No, the phone was away and that was that. So I had nothing but my mind. But then I thought, you know what? I don't spend a lot of time with myself. So I'm going to take this and turn what I'm experiencing into humor but also give myself time to really deep dive into thought about the things that we're doing, the things that we've planned, maybe think about the things that we thought we had to cancel or reschedule and think about the pros and cons and should we do this and should we not do it? Like I had a lot more time and instead of feeling defeated and I can't get anything done, well, I had to use my brain. It was all I had.
Okay. I'm grateful you had that time to use your brain because I wasn't thinking about any of that stuff and pivoting. Molly's like, all right, well, this is what we need to do. I'm like, yeah, wow, awesome. Thank you for thinking about that.
I just need to apologize because all morning you said, I survived. And I'm like, oh, Molly, she's so dramatic. Ha ha ha. And then now as you explain the process, I'm like, how did you survive? Did you bring a book? Like what?
No.
You just sat there and like all the tabs were open and you just like went through the tab. Oh,
yep. Yeah.
That's crazy.
I had some time with me, myself, and I, and we just did a lot of deep diving into things and actually some things that bring me anxiety that by the end of it, I decided no longer bring me anxiety. Like it really was like, I mean, when I first got on the first bus and my husband was leaving and I was on there, I was fighting tears. I'm not going to lie. I wanted to get off and run and go, I can't do it. I can't do it.
I think you need to tell about the garbage. Like
Okay. So when the door of the bus opens, at 1:45 a.m., because that's what time my bus left. Okay. 1:45 a.m. The door of the bus opens and all you see are pieces of trash down the steps. I'm thinking it's not a good start. I don't know, like just not a good start. Yeah. So
I mean, I've never seen that. I've taken buses. I've never seen that.
Yeah, it was not. I should have taken a picture, but I didn't. I was just trying to process and get my feet up the stairs and get my rear end in the seat that was 2 sizes too small. It was not the big plushy comfort seats that they have with all the leg room. Not true. My knees were up against the seat in front of me. This was no new bus, y'all. This was no new bus. This was a been there, done that a billion times bus. So, and
you're like reliving that,
right? This is just the physical aspects of the bus. It's not. I mean, there was so much more to this story that I don't know that this is the place to share. But you put your own images in there. There was just
smells. Put your own smells in there.
Yeah, and I wore a mask. I masked up the entire time because we're going to see our friend Diane, who's battling, she's got cancer and I don't want to bring her anything off now I'm glad. I mean, I was planning on the clean, pretty new bus. Thank God. At one point I thought, will I survive if I double mask? Will I still?
I was just going to say, like, that sounds like a double, triple mask situation.
Right. That hand sanitizer was going quite a bit, as was the mask. So, but even with the mask, they don't mask the smells that come around on those buses at all. But Yeah, I mean, I had to play that brain game. Like I had to tell myself, stop. You cannot do this. You've got to get there. Your friend needs you, and what she's going through is a hell of a lot worse than a 15-hour bus ride and all the shenanigans you're going to go through today. So suck it up, Buttercup. And what are you going to do? Like I just had to pivot my brain. My mindset had to change. And I knew I had to stay on there and I had to get through it. And in the end, it just kind of became funny. I mean, I just had to laugh. Now, my body this morning when I got out of bed wasn't feeling so funny. It hurt. But, you do what you do. You got to make it work. And yeah, yeah. So I
mean, it hurts. She's hurting so bad. This is the first time Molly's been to my new house. She hasn't even made it into the e-basement, like the second floor of my house where the whole business resides. We've only stayed on the ground floor here. Yeah.
I'm going to make it down those steps. I told her earlier that once the Aleve kicks in, I'm going to make it down the steps. But we've been sitting working all day, so the knees just get stiff. But anyway, enough about that. It's pivot. And so some of the tools there's different tools, but I think for me, for my pivoting right now, mindset has been the biggest tool I've needed personally for not just the bus trip, but even just putting this whole trip in at this time of my life. Mm-hmm. I needed the mental part was a big tool that I had to access. So let's talk other tools. Like I know, Samantha, you're talking about a tool today that you're having to use when we get off. I'm putting you on the spot like Libby does.
With my Google Calendar and all my scheduling?
Yes.
Yeah. So on Sunday, when I was resetting, we talked about how I like to just write notes down on here. And then I put it in a nice block format and do whatever. Every day this week so far, which is only Tuesday, so that seems like not very many. But so far, every day something has changed and I've needed to rearrange my entire day. Yesterday I was a zombie and was tired all day. And so this is just full of scribbles and blocking things out and but on my Google Calendar and the one that we share as well, we've moved and we've rearranged things and I can go in and I can do that again and rearrange things. And I blocked off all day tomorrow, and it's just a day that I am taking off. I'm not worried about my business on that day. It's one of my days that I build into my goals. So that's part of the way I adapt as well, is to make sure that I have those days built in so I don't stress when I need to take those days off. They're already built into my numbers and my goals. And then I'll just keep rearranging my schedule to meet the rest of my goals.
Yeah, so we started actually the past week. We'll be going this Sunday after this episode airs. Live on YouTube. Reseller Reset. We did a Sunday night Reseller Reset every other Sunday where we kind of talk about how we're arranging our week and how different tools we use. We'd like to hear what challenges you have coming up, kind of brainstorm them. So I'm really enjoying that. I'm liking this idea.
Y'all, this was so good this past Sunday when Libby did hers, shared her screen with her block scheduling. Because if you've listened to all our episodes, you hear we've talked many times over the years about our scheduling and the differences in how we like to do it. I have never been a Google Calendar block scheduling person. They put them in, and every day I'll just look at what's on the schedule, and then I'll put my alarms on, and that's it. But they're the ones that are feeding the information in and doing all that. That's their thing. But when Libby shared her screen at our Reseller Reset Live, it really helped me visually understand it more. And now I'm a little more I'm piqued to think this could be a really cool thing to get into. It's really neat the way you just shuffle them around when the pivot time comes. You can just slide a block to an open space or move a block to another time. And I think it's phenomenal. So if that's something that you think you would benefit from, join us on those Reseller Reset Sundays, and because we're doing all kinds of cool things that will happen like that you'll get to see that stuff. And I'm telling you, I'm going to sit down with Libby here while I'm with her and make her go a little deeper into this.
Oh boy. It's going to be fun. You guys know I love time blocking so much. So, all right. So there's the pivot. What happens if you don't pivot? I mean, pivoting is pivotal, right? Like, if you don't pivot, what happens?
You get that pit in the middle of your stomach where you're like, have all this anxiety and issues and things that are happening and going on around you, but you don't know how to handle them.
Yep, you can just keep running into a brick wall, like over and over and over and over again, and just trying to push through that's something that you can't push through, right? Or you can kind of turn, you can kind of pivot and look at another direction and not throw your hands up and not be angry.
My natural personality, I've grown a lot in this in the last several years, but my natural personality is typically to beat myself up. So if I don't pivot, I end up in a like self-deprivation. You stink. You messed this up. You didn't get this done. You can just picture me just boom, 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 boom. You know, how could you not get it done? You let them down, that kind of thing. But
there's anger, there's defeat.
Yeah. I mean, you just get yourself into such a negative space and such a sad space where none of us need to do that. And then you look around, you're like, everybody has these things happen in life. You're not alone. Everybody has it happen. Again, it has to do with mindset. It has to do with how you choose to handle that moment.
And a lot of it is looking at, we're all going to have those external forces that we have absolutely zero control over that are going to impact our lives, our businesses, and there's no control over it. There's not. And I think a lot of us have spent our time trying to control things that we can't, right? Like, I can't believe they're raising the fees on eBay and I'm going to quit and I'm going to let them know and I'm going to, well, you know what? I'm going to say that's one of those things. Maybe it is somewhat in our control, but we all band together. But anyway, like generally that's something that's out of your control. And, to keep focusing on what's out of your control instead of what's in your control is just so absolutely defeating. So
everybody's been in all these Facebook groups the last couple of days because Facebook, and they sent out a thing saying we're going from 5% fees to 10% fees, which is double and is a big hike. However, everybody that's on there complaining about it says, I don't make any sales on Facebook anyways.
So what the hell do you care?
Yeah, you're not paying the freaking fees anyways. And people like me learned how to pivot. I still list my stuff in the Facebook marketplace and then I share to local groups. And I still sell stuff, only I'm not paying anybody fees because they're messaging me and saying, hey, can I pick that up on Tuesday? And I bought a tray the other day for 50 cents. I sold it 2 days later for 35. Somebody messaged me, hey, I saw this in the group. Would you take 35? Absolutely. Boom, done. I paid nobody fees, but I still used Facebook Marketplace. You can adapt. You can do it.
You didn't throw the baby out with the bathwater, right?
And if Facebook wants to put more into their platform and we're going to start getting more sales there, I will pay 10% in fees. That's still cheaper than a lot of the other platforms.
Sure.
So if they want to give me the sales and make my stuff visible, I will still pay that.
Sure.
I'm going to get kind of snarky here for a minute. In all the time you guys spend complaining about the 10% or the 5% increase on Facebook Marketplace where you're not making any sales, how many things could you have listed? How many things could you have sold on a platform that does make sales for you?
Right.
All right, that's it. Rant over.
And again, y'all, if they change the fees on you, then pivot, change your pricing, figure out how you can work some of that into your pricing, your overall pricing to make up for it. It's going to happen forever. Nothing ever stays the same. Nothing. As much as we want it to, it doesn't.
Yeah. Every January, USPS is going to raise their prices. Yes. It's going to happen.
That's it. I'm out. I'm not reselling anymore. It's over.
It's going to happen next year. It's going to happen the year after. The year after that. It's forever. Just adapt. It's okay. It's going to happen.
So I adapt to that really well. You want to know how? Just calculated shipping.
Yeah.
Calculated shipping.
Yeah.
I don't worry about it. They raise the fee. All right. So my buyers are paying more to have the items shipped to them. I don't have to do anything.
And I do flat rate shipping. I haven't felt the need to raise it because I still make a little bit on my shipping. I have some wiggle room, but I could easily change some business policies and add 20 cents or 50 cents or whatever I need to add.
Sure.
Yeah. Or you could just quit.
Walk away. Dadgummit, I'm done. I'm out.
Well, she's really out.
She left. I mean, she left. Oh, there you are.
I'm supposed to be listing right now.
I know. We're cutting into her listing time. We're making her pivot yet again.
I mean, I just think about all the, in this business, we watch people come and go, and all the things that have happened to them have happened to me. All of the hurdles, the obstacles. The only difference maybe with somebody coming and going is that I just stuck with it and found a way to pivot. I'm not saying that's better than anything else, but if you want to stick with something, you really need to be able to move and groove and just say, all right, well, this really sucks, but here's what I'm going to do about it.
Right.
When that eBay to Shopify to eBay app went away, I mean, I had just implemented that whole thing, that was a tough one for me. That was a really,
you changed
really
your whole business.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I changed my whole business. I had just changed it to implement that process, and they pretty much announced it was going away. That was a tough one, but I thought to myself, all right, well, 6 months down the road, I could either be out of this business and frustrated, or I could just find an alternative.
Yeah.
Thank you, ListPerfectly. Okay.
Yes, thank you, ListPerfectly, for giving us an alternative.
And other people would have been like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened. I'm gonna stop selling online. Samantha, I'm not gonna be friends with you anymore because you told me that this was a great solution. What are you doing?"
Oh, right, because you were the one that introduced me to that. That's right.
I was the one that said, "Here, copy my methods. This works great," and you did. And then it all fell apart, and we were like, "What are we going to do?" Thank you, ListPerfectly. Now I'm a ListPerfectly user.
So yeah, that kind of brings up another topic, and I don't know if it has to do with pivoting, but I'm going to go ahead and pivot and put it in this episode anyway. Blame is such a bad negative thing. It really can distract you from solving a problem. It can distract you from pivoting. It takes all of your energy and puts it on somebody else instead of, almost always, the solution to a problem is internal. It's going to come from you. So what you are doing when you are blaming, if I said, instead of fixing the problem, if I said, I can't believe Samantha did this, and I, displaced my anger on her and, really let her have it, that was energy I wasn't spending solving the problem. It was just, yeah. So all right. So it does play into it.
And the reality is, there was no way Samantha could have known that was coming anyway. So
we cried together. Don't worry. We cried together. But then we also, again, lean on your community. We put our heads together and we figured out workarounds and different ways to make it work. And now our workflow is granted, we do things a little bit differently, but still our workflow works and we run successful businesses and we are doing just fine. We're doing fine. Screw you, Shopify. It's fine.
I'm glad I stuck with it. Yeah. So blame. Anytime so when I find myself going there and I'm going to blame somebody or I get angry with somebody, I stop myself now and I'm like, no, what am I going to do about it? It doesn't matter. I have no control over what someone else does, over what a company does, over what. The only thing I can control is my reaction to it. And blame is such a dangerous thing. When you find yourself starting to turn to someone, something, and start to place some blame, turn it back on yourself and ask yourself what you're going to do about it. Because that is wasted, useless energy.
Amen.
Boom. Boom.
Yes. I hate blame. I hate the blame game. It didn't even occur to me to blame you. I wish you brought that up sooner. That's how much I hate it.
I'm like, I showed her this great process and everything was working great. And then they went through all of this transition and this pivot. You went through all this pivoting to make it work and figure out a flow that worked for your business. And then they said, just kidding, never mind. And I was like, oh, I just put her through all that. I'm the one that showed her that.
And look, we still have you with us and we still love you.
You still love me.
I never even thought to blame you.
That's good.
I feel like I would have teased you. I would have told you a little bit about it.
Yeah, if you could just keep that mindset for everything, that'd be great. Because
I plan on it. And after having lived with somebody that placed a lot of blame on everybody else in external circumstances, like I could really see firsthand how damaging that is. You never fix anything if you blame somebody else. Like it totally alleviates you of any responsibility for moving forward or yeah.
Yep. And that's something that too in our Patreon stuff, in our motivation minutes in the morning, when somebody comes in with something negative or something that, oh, this happened. I mean, I said the other day, my dog was up all night. Luckily, Diamond is fine. Nobody worry. I got a lot of messages about how Diamond was. Perfectly fine. She's healed. But I was a zombie on Monday because I was tired. I did mention it. You're allowed to mention it. You're allowed to talk about it. I was pivoting and figuring out how to take care of myself and the dog and move forward. Shoved a bunch of stuff on today and Wednesday, which is going to change. And we moved forward and it was fine. So that's the thing. I don't want to just sit there and go, oh, my dog's sick. My day's ruined. Life is over. Blech. No, you got to pivot. You got to, okay, what are you going to do now to move forward? Fix it. So sometimes,
speaking of that,
and I seem a little dismissive, it's because I want you to move forward.
So we've done a lot of talking about getting derailed, right? Like Molly, you did a lot of work on your mindset of like, oh, well, you always use the diet as the example. All right, well, it's Monday and I ate a cheeseburger, so I'll just wait until next Monday. It's all done. It's all over. I'm just going to do whatever I want for the rest of the week until next Monday.
Is that an option?
Y'all, we do that with our businesses too.
Everything starts on a Monday. It just does.
Yeah.
No more listing closing. She can get out of here. We're waiting till Monday. It's fine.
But it's so easy, like, not to remind yourself that you can start over in any moment. Like, all right, you know what? I had a really bad day yesterday. Whatever. The whole week is off the rails. It's only Tuesday. Like, Libby, get yourself together. You can restart in this moment. It doesn't mean everything is shot.
Yes.
It just means you had a bad day yesterday. You can start over in the next moment.
And prioritize and take it, even with the time blocking. And I had to look at the schedule again. Okay, what am I going to move and adjust times? And maybe I only need to list, 25 items of clothing instead of 30. Or my basement inventory is on my schedule for every single day. I took that off today. Just took it off for tomorrow because I'm not going to be here. And I made it a little bit longer on Thursday. And my nephew's going to help me because he's going to be here with me. Okay, boom, that's it. I just took it line by line and just adjust and prioritize of what needs to get done, and things can shuffle and they can move. Moving something to another day does not mean that you are putting it off forever. You just can't do it every single day. Otherwise you are putting it off forever. But you are allowed to move and change things as long as you still get that done and get it taken care of. But prioritize and don't let it overwhelm you.
Yes.
I'm good at letting it overwhelm me.
I'm good at putting it off forever. So make sure on Thursday I go in my basement and I actually do my inventory.
Right. So I think, to me, the overall thing that I'm getting from this, yes, there are tools like calendars and things and the way you adjust them that have to do with helping you pivot. But to me, the most important thing that I could say is, yes, Samantha's tapping her brain. If you're listening on podcast and not watching us, it's your mindset. It's how you take it in and process it and what you do with that moment when the need to pivot comes is the most important. And again, we've talked about this on episodes, surrounding yourself with the right people, those groups that are going to get together and complain about the 5% upcharge on Facebook now probably aren't the ones you want to be in when you're needing to pivot. You want to be in the ones that are positive, that are uplifting, that are going to help you keep your mindset in the, okay, this happened. What's next? How are we going to deal with this? What are we going to do? How are we going to move forward?
Yes.
That's the most two important things are surround yourself with those people that are going to help you stay in that positive mindset and help uplift you and work on your reaction and mindset. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying knee-jerk reactions happen. I have them all the time. But the difference between my knee-jerk reaction and somebody else's is I never outwardly act on them. I don't. I keep them, I process them, and determine whether or not it's worth an outward action or not. And 99% of the time, they're not worth an outward reaction.
So what if we do have a reaction? I mean, I know I've had reactions in the moment that I regret, maybe.
So it makes you human. It makes you real, right? But guess what? There's something you can do about it. I'm sorry.
I'm
Stop
sorry.
it.
I'm going to use you.
So, yeah. And one of the things, like when I've done something like that is somebody gave me the advice years ago is you look back with curiosity. Like, why did I do that? Like, not beating yourself up, not, and I've used this with my kids too. Like, don't beat yourself up. Like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. You look back and you say, oh, I wonder why that happened. Like, what were the triggers there? How could I, kind of avoid that? And they say, like, think of yourself as a cat, right? Like, if a cat unravels a ball of string, they're going to look back and like, be like, hey, like, how did that happen? Am I going to do that again? Why? I don't, not as, oh, I can't believe I did that. No, you didn't.
Yeah.
It's over.
Don't beat yourself up about it. Yeah, just try to avoid it in the future. Yes.
Yeah. Why did Samantha tell me to implement that app? The Shopify to eBay app. You know what? Really, the worst part of that whole story is that I was at eBay Open in New York City and met with eBay executives that were asking me all about how I use the app and were very, very curious about it. And I guess the reason was, and they should have told me this at the time, was that it was going away. Because now looking back, I can see from their faces that they were like, oh God, like she's the freight train's coming for her.
Not going to be a happy one.
But I don't blame them. Whatever.
You have since, you went to the last eBay Open and talked to the CEO of eBay.
I did.
And it was such a small thing that I doubt that you even brought it up because you've pivoted, you've moved on, you've transitioned your business. And it's not something that you're sitting there going, that really screwed things up for me. Like,
well, I was just talking about regret for things I said that I shouldn't have. No, I didn't say
not
that.
True.
No, I didn't.
Not true. All right, y'all. I clearly tried to put a closing in on that earlier and they just kept talking. So I'm going to work on a closing
subject. I love it so much. All right, we're going back to listing now. I can't keep track.
Poor Samantha's calendar. Her blocks keep moving. Libby's eating. Okay, y'all. Until next time.
Cheers. Thanks for joining Libby, Molly, and Samantha, the ladies of Consignment Chats, as we build a resourceful community of collaborative resellers. Find all the ways to connect with us on consignmentchats.com. Episodes are available on YouTube and anywhere you get your podcasts. In addition, join our free private Facebook community.